Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the online VGC 20 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Yesterday we featured James Baek's Rank #1 team, the really interesting dual weather Assault Vest Venusaur team, so just playing a couple more games with it today. Of course, James has published everything about this team, so you can find the Rento and the code linked in the description below. We're up against a really cool team for the first game, so I'm really excited for this, especially because our opponent is really highly rated as well. I remember we played against an opponent with Gigalith before, and they were also in like the top 150, and I'm wondering if it's the same opponent, so I'm curious about that. But once again, guys, go check out James, an incredible VGC player and content creator, streams very frequently on Twitch and makes YouTube videos pretty much daily, very highly educational content. I've linked him in the description below. Alright, so this team is interesting because there's an obvious Trick Room component with the Gothitelle, Indeedee, and Gigalith, and then you've got Cinderace, which I think really stands out with the Urshifu, where I imagine you can just like, give Urshifu speed boosts and max knuckle boosts. And then Goodra it really stands out there. I'm curious what its role is, but if it is Sap Sipper, for example, it can wall Venusaur decently well. So I have a bunch of things to watch out for here. Gigalith alone is pretty scary. Gyarados maybe wants to Dynamax here. My opponent doesn't have any Grass-type Pokemon, so like G-Max, Vine Lash is still pretty powerful. I like Focus Sash Tyranitar here though offensively. But I have to consider if I just get trapped in immediately by Gothitelle. Yeah, I want to put on pressure against Gothitelle offensively, so I think I'm going to go Tyranitar, Charizard with Torkoal and Venusaur in the back. So the idea behind this is, Dusclops doesn't feel that strong to me here, mainly because I want to be able to just put on a lot of pressure damage-wise. I think this is probably a pretty good game for Gyarados. I haven't really brought out Gyarados with this team very much, but in this game it makes some sense because I get the Intimidate off against Gigalith, Intimidate off against Cinderace as well, but we'll see how things play out. It's going to be Goodra and Cinderace as the lead. Alright, that's really neat to see, so a lot more offensive than some of the other combinations from my opponent. So, I'm going to get into the first game of today's episode. As always, if you guys enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like, and thank you as always for tuning into the content, especially lately. I've been commenting the Players' Cup as well, so I hope you guys have been able to watch some of those streams. The last stream for the qualification stage will be on Thursday, so hope to see some of you all there. But yeah, Cinderace Goodra. Okay. I need damage against the Goodra. Like, I'm pretty worried about out-damaging this thing. I've got Superpower, Lash Out, Protect. Like, I want to just Rock Slide turn 1. I expect the Cinderace to max, and then maybe, I don't know, max Airstream into Charizard. So I kind of want to just max, and then Airstream into Cinderace. I mean, Goodra might Dynamax here. One other play I can see my opponent going for is, yeah, Dynamax Goodra, and then just High Jump Kick into Tyranitar. Although I would actually be okay with that, because it means Charizard doesn't go down, and if Charizard doesn't go down this turn, then I can just go for the G-Max attack the subsequent turn. So, it might be Goodra Dynamaxing here. I don't think I've ever seen Cinderace Goodra as a lead before, so pretty cool to see that in general. Yeah, I'm kind of expecting High Jump Kick. Yep, so it looks like it's Goodra maxing. Interesting. It could also be just like a Sucker Punch max Lightning into Charizard, but because I have the Focus Sash, I felt comfortable attacking with Tyranitar turn 1. And if I can knock out the Cinderace and get a speed boost on Tyranitar without losing our Focus Sash, I actually think we're maybe not in like a terrible position. Although I guess knocking out Goodra is just going to be tough in this matchup. Oh, it's coaching! Very interesting. Wow, okay. Now that I absolutely did not expect. With the coaching, then I'm wondering if it has a Focus Sash as well. Very cool. Very cool. I'm expecting Sash. Yep, there's the Sash. Wow. Okay, I was never going to see that coming, so that's an awesome strat. Like, teams like this, even if we lose, like, I'm like, you know what? That's so cool that, like, I can't even feel bad. So I'm wondering if at +1 he can knock out the Charizard. I'm hoping not, but Rock Slide here is going to pick up the KO. Actually still does decent damage on a Goodra. Like, any damage I can do onto this thing before max ends is valuable. Okay, it's just going to be a max Worm Wind, and going to go into Charizard. Nice, okay. So this is good, because we can go for our G-Max attack next turn. Tyranitar is really not doing much damage at this point, though. But what do you switch in? Yeah, I mean, I still have to be careful, because I'm trying to ask myself, like, how do I actually out-damage Goodra in the endgame? I guess as long as I keep chipping away at it, it should be alright. Urshifu comes out, which I'm okay with. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going for the G-Max move onto Urshifu because I want that effect up for the remainder of the game. I'm wondering if there's value to switching Tyranitar out into, like, Venusaur right now because I'm expecting the Charizard to go down, so then I get Torkoal in next to the Venusaur. Could also just stay in and Rock Slide, but we're really not doing much damage. So, yeah, I don't mind switching out into Venusaur here and just going for the G-Max Wildfire. We know the Focus Sash was also on the Cinderace. So, I could have actually gone into... No, I don't mind not going into Torkoal out immediately. Does Sucker Punch KO us here? Oh, it does. Is it Life Orb or Banded then? I didn't think that would KO. Ah, it's Life Orb, yeah. And Steel Spike comes out. Very nicely done. Yeah, I don't think I have enough damage for Goodra at this point, to be honest. I just really didn't think Charizard would go down there, so I thought we had a super safe play. So in retrospect, it might have been better to just have Max Guard and, like, Rock Slide. Because then I can scout out for the Sucker Punch. But I don't really have a way to play around the Sucker Punch, to be honest, right? Yeah. I think that's a clean sweep. I mean, even, staying in with Tyranitar doesn't really offer much. I wonder what the damage roll on Charizard is, because I was thinking I could survive even with the Life Orb, but I don't know my Urshifu calcs super well. I'll bring out Torkoal here. I think Sucker Punch probably goes out into Venusaur. I think this is still winnable, but it's going to be really tough. Because I thought we were just going to knock out Urshifu cleanly there. And then get the G-Max effect as well, so that was a complete 180 from what I thought was going to happen there. You know, Life Orb's not the most common item on Urshifu. You normally see Sash, but obviously the Sash was already on the Cinderace, so very cool. I mean, surely you Sucker Punch Venusaur here. What if my opponent goes for, like, the crazy good read? Like, maybe I can afford to sack Venusaur if I KO Urshifu. And there's a chance my opponent predicts Venusaur to switch out into Tyranitar and close combat that slot. Okay. I'm gonna Weather Ball then. And Heat Wave. They could also protect Urshifu. Yeah. I thought hard about yawning the Goodra in that slot. Really nicely played overall. Okay, so Steel Spike comes out. Yep, targets Venusaur. That's a really safe play, actually, because, like, I can never really do anything with my Torkoal. Or my Venusaur against Goodra, so might as well just play it safe, right? And now what this allows my opponent to do is just click Close Combat directly into the Tyranitar slot. So a yawn there could have given us a better shot, I think. What I was hoping for was my opponent to just Sucker Punch the Venusaur, but there's pretty much no reason to not protect Urshifu there. So Life Orb Urshifu putting in a lot of work, and I mean, this Goodra is just so difficult to knock out because we don't really have a super effective Fairy or Dragon type attack, or Ice on this team, so the best way to deal with Goodra is to use neutral attacks, you know, which never feels super good. Now this Goodra is all bulked up as well with Steel Spikes. You don't see Steel Spike that often. +3 defense, +1 attack. And obviously, Close Combat's just going to knock us out onto the Tyranitar slot, but we have the Focus Sash, so we'll survive that. Yeah, I think we have to go for a flinch right now onto Goodra. And then, I don't know, protect the Tyranitar. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough game to win after Charizard went down because I was banking, like, the amount of momentum I lost there was just huge. I didn't think we'd faint from Sucker Punch, but with Life Orb, yeah, can't say I'm super surprised that we did get knocked out there. So it looked like a really good lead, honestly. Ended up not being super great. We ended up missing Rock Slide on Urshifu. Okay, I mean, Goodra's the one we need to flinch, but even with flinches, like, that's taking no damage right now. It's actually Outrage Goodra as well. Interesting. And it does correctly go into the Tyranitar slot. So Yawn could have been better because if I yawned last turn, at least Goodra would fall asleep. I just don't have any damage for this thing, to be honest. Like, look how little we're doing to it. Yeah. So, ultimately, I mean, the coaching is just really cool. Like, I don't know what this team really has to deal with Goodra, actually, other than putting it to sleep early. So, like, I could maybe lead the Torkoal. Coaching Focus Sash Cinderace is so cool to see, though. Like, full credit to my opponent here. Yeah, I think the main thing is, like, I wasn't too worried about Goodra coming out of turn 1. because I didn't, yeah, I thought the Charizard, like, I was like, oh, we just outspeed everything on my opponent's team now. We should be able to get another attack off. So I could have protected the Charizard in that position, perhaps, but does that really help? Because actually it does. It does help. We had the attack drop, but so the question is how much superpower does to the Urshifu. Because what might have been better was basically max guarding the Charizard in that slot and going for superpower onto Urshifu. I don't think superpower knocks out after the attack drop, so I'm curious on that damage calc. Let's see. I was gonna say there would be a chance of winning if like Goodra was confused. I mean, with Stand Up, there's no way to win. But I was like, if Dusclops were my opponent's last one and it didn't have Nightshade and Sand weren't up, Torkoal could maybe pull it off. But no, it's gonna be NDD. So yeah, I am curious if the Sucker Punch was a guaranteed KO onto Charizard. It probably was, to be honest. So definitely didn't expect coaching turn 1. That was really, really cool. I think, yeah, max guard superpower into in Urshifu would have been better. Because I think I was expecting like Assault Vest. But yeah, I mean, it's like Life Orb or Choice Band are very likely. And why would you bring out Urshifu in that position if it can't pick up a knockout on a Charizard? So had I gone for the max guard superpower, like Tyranitar also had that speed boost, right? So we were faster than the Urshifu. So I should have at least stayed in with Tyranitar instead of switching out. The reason I switched out was because I thought I'd be comfortable enough to like take like I didn't think I'd be fainting there, and I thought like we'd be trading Goodra for Charizard, and then I'd get Venusaur and get Torkoal in next to it, and then we'd be in a good spot. So yeah, I should have read into that a little bit more. Honestly, the Steel Spike also caught me off guard. So overall, really cool to see like a physical Goodra set. And we played with physical Goodra as well before, but coaching Cinderace makes it so interesting because presumably actually now that I realize the Assault Vest was going to be on the Goodra, so it was silly to assume that Urshifu would have had anything other than Choice Band or Life Orb. Because we already saw Focus Sash and AV already taken up on, the 2 Pokemon as a lead. So, that was my fault. I needed to play better on turn 2. I think, like, it's very hard to win that game after turn 2. I could have gone for the Yawn onto the Goodra as well, but not much we could have done, to be honest, even if we got that off, given that NDD was my opponent's last one. Okay, so we're against Tyranitar Excadrill here. Venusaur looks solid. Looks very solid here. Because the G-Max attack just does a lot into everything. I think the one thing that scares me is probably that Cinderace. So I might actually go like Charizard, Venusaur, Torkoal, and Tyranitar is still compelling for Focus Sash superpower here. I could go like Dusclops, because like Dusclops Torkoal does pretty well into this team too, I think. The idea of leading Charizard is to counter Dynamax Cinderace because Venusaur obviously gets dunked on super hard by Max Cinderace, and so does Tyranitar. So, but like Cinderace doesn't do super well into Charizard. I guess if it has Max Strike, then it does a lot of damage. But other than that, yeah. So let's see. Really cool team from that last one, though. I totally should have read into the Sucker Punch from Urshifu once again, but. That's the thing, right? When you play with unexpected teams like that, you can really catch your opponent off guard, and they have to like adapt and change their game plan completely, which is just one of the really neat aspects of this game. Okay, this is really good for us. Our opponent leads Tyranitar Excadrill, which means we can just hard pivot out into Torkoal turn 1, which is excellent. Now I would think here Tyranitar switches out, maybe into like if I wanted to go for a crazy prediction, it would be to read the Tyranitar switch out, but I think it's safer to just max Venusaur and just get the Vine Lash off immediately here onto the Excadrill slot and switch out into Torkoal. There's a chance my opponent decides to stay in with Tyranitar to try to just Rock Slide into us as well, and if that's the case, I'd be okay as well. What's interesting here is, like, Rillaboom is the only Pokemon that's immune to Vine Lash, but if you bring in a Rillaboom into this matchup, that's obviously very good for us. It looks like that Excadrill's staying in, so I'm happy with that. Now Excadrill might be going for a Rock Fall. Could be pretty scary, actually. Let's see if Tyranitar switches out here. It doesn't. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, if Excadrill goes for Rockfall into the Charizard slot, that obviously does a lot of damage to Torkoal and then resets the weather, but I don't think that would be too problematic because just getting Vine Lash off at this point would be really good. Tyranitar also might be the Pokemon maxing, but I would actually rather see Tyranitar max here than Excadrill because that thing does not fare too well against everything that we've brought. They don't max either Pokemon, actually. That is interesting. Okay, so Excadrill is going down this turn for sure, which is great because that thing outspeeds us, obviously. It's actually just high horsepower. Is there Assurance here, too? No, it's just Rock Slide. Venusaur actually dodged. Oh, double dodge! Been a while since we've seen one of those. I mean, that's literally a 1% chance, so very lucky there. Granted, we weren't taking too much damage there to begin with. Like, you know, Venusaur takes probably like 30%-ish. Actually, I would think less than that. This Torkoal is pretty defensive as well, so while it's super effective, Torkoal is, you know, one of the highest defense stats in the game. But obviously, that's still very fortunate for us. Cinderace is out here from my opponent, so this is still a little scary, but I think it's fine. Like, actually, yeah, because I'm faster than the Cinderace, right? So I can just Max Quake that before it moves. Unless you have Max Guard in Cinderace. If you have Max Guard, then what you would do is switch Tyranitar out and Max Guard here. I don't know. I'm honestly content just going for a Max Quake onto the Cinderace and I think a Heat Wave. Yeah. Okay, so Tyranitar switches. I mean, most Cinderaces don't have Max Guard, which is why I went for this play. There's Rillaboom, which is also very good for us. I think we just had a very good lead. That's why, like, with Weather, I never like leading the Weather user unless they have no Weather, because a switch-in, especially with how Dynamic Speed works now, is just so bad. They're maxing Cinderace, which makes me think they don't have Max Guard, although maybe they didn't want to take, like, if they had Protect, they didn't want to take any damage through Protect. But it's really rare to see Cinderaces. I mean, if, like, one thing I could have done was actually switch out Torkoal if I was really worried about the Max Guard play, but let's see. Wow, yeah, they had it. Huh, okay. Which means now what you do is you switch, well, actually, I guess you don't necessarily need to switch out. Huh, nice. So that gives my opponent a fighting chance for sure. But I still think we're in a pretty good spot. Heat Wave there almost KOs the Rillaboom. And it gets the burn. Everything going our way so far this game. So that's very, very lucky. A little bit of Vine Lash damage onto Cinderace, which it's going to heal back. And then Rillaboom's going to take Grassy Terrain and then burn. Okay. So the thing is, I still outspeed with my Venusaur right now, unless you switch back out into Tyranitar. And then you probably, what, just go for the G-Max move onto the Venusaur? I should win this game as long as I put Cinderace to sleep. So I'm thinking we just... I guess here you could just fake out Torkoal and... I don't know, you can't fake out, because you have to switch out into Venusaur, I think. I'm just going to Vine Lash into Cinderace. And go for a Yawn onto it as well. Yep, there's Rillaboom switching out. Maybe Body Press into the switch out could have worked as well. Because then actually the Tyranitar just faints, right? From Body Press and the G-Max move. But Yawn onto Cinderace is also fine. Because, I mean, like, if I could put that thing to sleep, this thing is not that scary anymore. Yep, there's Airstream. Okay. Airstream for the speed boost on a Tyranitar, which is actually very clever. Yeah, that's very smart. Yeah, actually, maybe Body Pressing would have been better there. Because now the Tyranitar being faster is slightly scary, I would say. But I don't think it's enough, it's that much of a problem. This is a game that's, like, inexcusable to lose, though, given how lucky we've gotten, so... yeah. Like, I played safe so far, and I think this turn it would have been better to capitalize off the Body Press. Because if I KO Tyranitar, that just clears out, and that Rillaboom is not a threat to me whatsoever in the back after getting the burn off. Okay. So there's one more turn of Dynamax on Cinderace. That's obviously going to fall asleep soon. I'm bulky Torkoal with Citrus and Body Press. And I have Protect, so I think we just go out in a Charizard here. We double Protect. As my opponent probably goes for, what, Max Knuckle, Rock Slide? Yeah. I think we double Protect here, yeah. The Airstream was really good too, actually. Giving the Tyranitar the speed boost was an excellent move on my opponent's end. I just can't believe the Cinderace actually has Max Guard. It's been a while since I've seen one with Max Guard. Okay. Cinderace is staying in, so we know that's falling asleep now. Oh, they actually have for Airstream instead. That's very good. Because now I know Torkoal is definitely not fainting this next turn to Tyranitar. And they're probably not expecting the Body Press, and they probably feel pretty safe, and they just wanted to get the speed boost. But now Cinderace falls asleep, and I can just go for Body Press into Tyranitar safely. Yeah, so that should be game. I think it definitely would have been better to have clicked Body Press into the Tyranitar slot, because if you don't switch into Tyranitar, my Venusaur just outspeeds your Cinderace, right? Which means I get a big attack off. And if you switch into Tyranitar, sure, you knock out the Venusaur, but then I knock out the Tyranitar. So it's the one play I would have made differently in this game. Okay, Body Press should definitely KO that now, given how much damage it's taken. I mean, Body Press from Torkoal is just nuts. Like, this thing is, has one of the best defense stats in the game. Okay. No Lum this time, like yesterday going up against that Charizard. I don't want to lose. Actually, how many turns of terrain are left? There's still 2. Yeah, so if we KO Tyranitar this turn, that'd be perfect. Let's see. They're flying right now, +2 speed. My only fear is like a flinch, right, onto Torkoal. But there's no point in conserving Charizard. I'm just wondering if there's value to trying to go for a double protect here. They could miss though too, right? I'm just gonna Air Slash Body Press here, I think. Yeah, that's fine. If we avoid a flinch this turn, the game is over. Okay, Rock Slide double connects. It's fine. Yeah, Torkoal would have survived 2 of those because of the Citrus Berry, so I don't think the miss was actually super significant in the end of the day. Alright, let's see if we can... If we get flinched here, actually, we might just lose if Cinderace gets a 1-turn wake. Oh, boy. That's why I needed a Body Press on the switch-in. Okay. I mean, I have the Focus Sash on Tyranitar, so I still feel alright right now. Oh, my goodness. Problem is that terrain also resets after this turn, so that my opponent, like, that's why I really needed to KO this turn, because then you don't get the last, like, then I stall out Rillaboom's terrain as well. Oh man, I could also protect Torkoal Superpower into Tyranitar. See, they're flying right now. They're definitely faster. I'm just thinking of, like, if Cinderace wakes up, what's the worst case? I think it's, I needed to, it's better to protect one of my 2 Pokemon. Okay, Cinderace ends up staying asleep. It's also better to Superpower there, maybe? Because Tyranitar is the main threat right now. All right, let's see if we get flinched again. Okay, so we don't flinch there. We KO Cinderace. This is a lot closer than it needed to be. As I say once again. Okay, we don't get flinched there. Oof. Yeah, I mean, I undoubtedly got lucky in the early game. Although, I think, ultimately, like, it didn't end up mattering because Venusaur was going to faint from a Cinderace attack anyway, and as you saw, Torkoal had this... Actually, it might have mattered here, right? Because it means that my opponent needs 1 extra attack onto the Torkoal. Because if that first Rock would have connected, we would have just fainted after the flinch there. So, yeah. No, we definitely got lucky there, and for that reason, I could have mitigated the odds by going for Body Press on the switch out, which was, like... It was a super safe play to have just gone for the G-Max move onto the Cinderace and Body Press onto the Rillaboom switch out. If we get that, we just win the game because we already got the burn onto Rillaboom too, and Rillaboom's just not doing any damage with us having Tyranitar in the back. So, the game was pretty scary, but we should be good now. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Like, the early game was great for us, right? Turn 1 was fantastic. Like, I was shocked to not see a Dynamax there, but I guess they were trying to get me to, you know, bait me into Dynamaxing the Venusaur so that they could bring out the Cinderace. So that was really smart. It's just kind of inexcusable to lose after that turn 1, honestly, after getting so much momentum off, especially because this team is really strong, so you want to just, like, carry over that momentum forward. So, main misplay in this game was not going for Body Pressed on the Rillaboom switch out because we had a, like, guaranteed safe play there. Yeah, so I'm curious. It was just Focus Sash. Yeah, Life Orb with... So, no Sucker Punch, which a lot of Cinderaces run, or Max Strike, you know, one of the two. It's Policy Tyranitar, and then Banded Rillaboom. Oh, okay, interesting. Very interesting. Okay. No, we definitely got lucky in that game, and I think that's a game in which we don't really need RNG to win if I play it properly, but I didn't play it super, super well. So, once again, like... That's a good example of a match where it's like you can point out how you can mitigate certain, you know, aspects of luck And once again, I keep pointing to the Rillaboom switching out into Tyranitar because, yeah, I just needed to assess my win conditions a little bit better. So once again, it's really important, even when you win in competitive Pokemon, to keep asking yourself, what could I have done better? Because that's how you improve as a player. If you're focused solely on winning, then there are a lot of games often as a VGC player in which you win, but you didn't actually play like perfectly. And you always want to optimize your play to the point where you can say, I think I did pretty much everything right in that game. Alright, this is a pretty hyper-offensive team for the next match. Another Cinderace, so we're 3 for 3 on Cinderaces today, but obviously that first one's very different and unorthodox. What scares me is, like, I want Venusaur, but there's 3 physical Pokemon here, all which put on a lot of pressure against Venusaur damage-wise. And I like, we haven't brought Gyarados at all, but I just don't feel comfortable. I think we might need to, honestly, given how many attackers in my opponent's team are physical. Like, all the Pokemon that Dynamax are going to be physical Pokemon, right? I'm just trying to prepare for Whimsicott Cinderace specifically as a lead. I like Charizard once again. Charizard Dusclops is interesting. Charizard Dusclops, Torkoal Venusaur? I don't know. The thing about Gyarados is if I'm bringing Gyarados into this set, it's literally only for Intimidate. And even though my opponent's team is so physical, I don't know if that's honestly worth it, because that is just... It just does no damage unless I'm Dynamaxing, and I really don't want to Dynamax Gyarados in this matchup. It's going to be Arcanine and Whimsicott, which is pretty good for a Charizard Dusclops lead, I would say. I have multiple options here right now. I think you have to respect the Trick Room turn 1. It's Figgy and Focus Sash, okay, so standard. You have to respect the Trick Room, which means you're probably going to want to go for a Taunt onto Dusclops. I don't want to commit my max yet onto Charizard because I'm probably going to get Snarled. I mean, I could just Heat Wave and Nightshade turn 1, right? I kind of like that, because I think Whimsicott has to Taunt. Yeah, exactly. I think you have to Taunt Snarl here. Okay, Heat Wave connects. Very nice. Good. Good damage onto Arcanine, actually, as well. I just need to knock out Whimsicott because I don't want Tailwind up for the remainder of this game. Like, I could have maxed Charizard and gone for the G-Max move and switched Dusclops out because Taunt was obviously coming out there, but the reason I don't feel super great about that is because, then I commit my Dynamax already. Although I guess, given what I brought, am I really maxing Venusaur? I could. Because what I want to do now is switch Dusclops out into Torkoal. I think Cinderace probably comes out from my opponent's end. And then, oh, it's actually Milotic. Okay. I'm okay with that. Hey, we have Scorching Sands. Like, this is where Scorching Sands can be huge. Switching Dusclops into Torkoal and just Scorching Sands. If we get rid of Arcanine, then Venusaur can max. I'm just curious, like, does my opponent max the Milo here? Because that could make some sense. But if they max Milo, and I get Torkoal in for free and you KO the Charizard, then I get Venusaur in for free as well, and then I can max the Venusaur in the subsequent turn. And then just go for max Quake onto Arcanine for a KO. Even at -1, I'm thinking Life Orb Scorching Sands maybe knocks out Arcanine. Okay, they don't protect, no switches, no Dynamax. Oh, so close. So close. I'll take it, though. Can't complain about that. So this means I'll get Venusaur in for free, which is nice. It's actually Will-O-Wisp onto Charizard. An Icy Wind. Okay. I'm alright with that, right? Like, what do I want to do here? I mean, this is a great position for Venusaur right now. But I'm obviously not going to hard switch Venusaur in right now. I'm definitely going for Yawn onto Milotic. I think what we do is actually sack the Charizard so we get a free switch in into Venusaur. So Yawn the Milotic and Scorching Sands into Arcanine. Arcanine protects, which might even be better for us. So we've seen Protect, Snarl, Will-O-Wisp, you know, pretty much all the standard stuff. And important to note, Charizard's still faster even after the Icy Wind. Okay, he's just going for Scald. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, I thought you could just actually attack with the Arcanine there, but this is great, right? Because I get the Yawn off against the Milotic now, and I get Venusaur in. And my opponent doesn't have Tailwind or Weather Control, so now Venusaur outspeeds everything. Which means now what I can do is just Max Quake into Arcanine. They don't have a switch in into it other than Gyarados, but I think I still need to respect Arcanine enough to try to KO it. So Max Quake that slot and just Yawn the Milotic slot. This is the beauty of Yawn, right? This is why this move is used so much more in this format than any other format, especially in Dynamax. It just puts on pressure in the late game, and my opponent actually doesn't switch out, which is very good. You know, one interesting play they could make is that this actually would be really big brain if they have Cinderace in the back, is like Max Milo, Max Ice into Venusaur, and then you get Cinderace for free. Wait, that would actually be really cool. Okay, but they don't Max Milo. Oh, are they just going for Blind Hypnosis? That might be what's happening right now. Oh, I maybe needed to respect that because Arcanine and like no fire type attack should KO the Venusaur. So yeah, maybe I needed to respect the Blind Hypnosis more. Oh, they're just going for Scald though. Okay. Oof, that was a lot scarier than it needed to be. Okay, so now Milotic falls asleep. Unless it has a berry here. I doubt it though. You always really want recovery on that. Yeah. Okay. Not much they could have done in that position, so let's see if Cinderace is the last one. That's kind of what I'm expecting. It is actually Gyarados, huh? So they had an opportunity to switch out there, but they opted not to in the end. So this should just be a win now, because we can just cleanly G-Max into Milotic and Yawn into Gyarados. Just double check what I have in the back. It's Dusclops. So Gyarados shouldn't be able to really do any damage to us. I don't even think a Max Airstream KOs. So let's just KO the Milotic and then Yawn. Yeah, I don't think Max Geyser KOs Torkoal, nor do I think Max Airstream KOs Venusaur. So I think we're in good shape here. Still thinking about that first team, man. Really, really cool team. And I'm still kicking myself for not going for the body press because that second game should have been an instant win after turn 1. So once again, you always want to carry over your advantages. Focus on if you're ahead in the game, like make sure you keep that lead and make sure, it progresses further. Oh, it actually doesn't one-shot Milotic. Okay. That's fine, though, because, like, Vine Lash is up now. It is going to have a berry, but obviously it has to take a guarantee to sleep of turn. Guaranteed turn of sleep, not sleep of turn. Okay, they offer Max Geyser, which makes sense, Change the weather here. But I don't think that KOs Torkoal. Yeah, Torkoal is so bulky, man. Survives that with no problem. Sure, the weather is up, and now I get Yawn off against Gyarados. Although Gyarados might have Lumberry, but I think Yawning is still fine, because there's not much value in switching out Torkoal there. Now I can switch out Torkoal for further weather control, right? And the Milotic's actually just going to faint after Vine Lash. So, yeah, we're good. One thing that's really interesting about this team is that you have so many Dynamax options, right? Either Charizard or Venusaur can Dynamax, which is why I really like leading both of them, because the amount of flexibility you get from that, because of the amount of synergies, like, Torkoal synergizes so well as to switch in for both, it just often puts you in such a nice spot. So let's go for another Vine Lash. We switch Torkoal out here into Dusclops. And with Gyarados, I mean, even if you have Lum here, there's no way Gyarados can pull out a 3v1, I think. So, yeah. Solid set of games. I think the first one, I definitely blundered a little bit because given that I knew the Focus Sash was on Cinderace, it was clear that the Urshifu, once again, was going to have a Life Orb or Choice Band because Goodra was going to most likely carry the Assault Vest. So, should have thought a little bit harder about that. I do think that's a pretty tough matchup, though, in general, because this team just doesn't have very much for Goodra. But I think in a best of 3, the way I would approach it is trying to put it to sleep turn 1 with Yawn on Torkoal. So I'd consider leading Torkoal because now I know like the Cinderace isn't as offensive as a regular Cinderace. So I think that's the adjustment I would make in game 1. Like I said, another play I could have gone for. And I'm actually going to do the damage calc real quick out of curiosity. Because I want to know, first of all, how much Tyranitar's superpower does into Urshifu. So that's the first question I have. And then the second question I have is, let's see. Yeah, how much Sucker Punch is doing into us. Because if Superpower still KOs Urshifu, which I don't think it does, my guess is like 60 to 70%, even on no bulk Urshifu. Well, it looks like it actually might be even lower than that. Superpower. Yeah, so we weren't knocking out Urshifu there. So, I don't know. I think it probably might have still been better to stay in. I guess the Goodra would have gotten a Steel Spike off as well, but I think Goodra was going to be slower than us, right? And then I'm just calculating Urshifu's Sucker Punch with Life Orb into us. I don't think it was a roll. I'm willing to bet it was just a guaranteed KO, but I'm just curious. Let's see. It says 97 to 114. Yeah, I think we didn't have enough bulk to take that. So it's a tough spot then. Even if I stay in Superpower, I don't really get that much value out of it. So maybe my play needed to be better on turn 1, but I think that's a good example of a game where having something like Focus Sash Coaching plus Dynamax Goodra with Physical Goodra can really catch your opponent off guard. I think that's actually a really brilliant combination to beat like what we're using here, because the Goodra with Sap Sipper walls, with the Assault Vest walls, Charizard to walls, Venusaur, Gyarados does absolutely nothing to it. So basically all our Dynamax Pokemon are terrible against it, right? So the only way to really beat Goodra, I think, is to stall out the first couple of turns of Dynamax, not Dynamax ourselves. But the reason I didn't feel comfortable doing that was because, you know, in a best of 1, I'm going up against Cinderace. I don't feel comfortable against that, so I feel the need to put on pressure. So I should have seen that coming. I don't think I was ever going to predict the coaching, but you know, Dynamax Goodra was, you know, I think not super surprising to see, but just really good execution from my opponent. And to be honest, even though I maybe slightly misplayed, not expecting the Sucker Punch, I think our opponent kind of pinned us after that turn 1, because Urshifu just does so much damage to everything, and then if I don't get the G-Max move off, I just don't see how I do damage against Goodra in the late game. So in order to win that set, it would have to be like a completely different game plan. And this is why, like, you know, some small surprises like that have so much value in best of 1. So that's what I said about the first game. Second game, would have gone for the body pressed on the Rillaboom switch out. I'd probably actually double up into the Rillaboom into that slot just to cover the option of it staying in as well. So for example, Max Quake and Body Press into that slot. And then in the last game just now, I've been so focused on the first 2 games, I barely remember what we could have really done in this one. I feel like this one was relatively alright, but yeah. Really fun games, and yeah, I think cool to always see coaching being used from like a non... I mean, the only thing I've really seen coaching being used on so far is like Riolu and the Terrakion team that we just used. So yeah, I've been rambling for a bunch though. Just wanted to analyze some of the games just now. So thank you guys as always for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. I didn't mention the question of the day in the beginning, but I'm curious, what move or strategy do you think is underplayed right now? Let me know in the comments below. Or maybe not even right now, just in general, like through the history of Pokemon. Curious about your thoughts on that. And thanks as always for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. All right, peace.